Thank you very much, Senator. Joining us right now from the White House, we have Senior Advisor to the President of the United States, Valerie Jarrett. Good morning to you, Ms. Jarrett.
Good morning to you. Good morning to you all.
It's great to have you today. So can we ask you this? We know that we have a divided government. The Republicans are running Congress these days, and yet last night the president brought up a laundry list of things that he would like, but they have absolutely zero chance of passing. Why did he do that?
Well, first of all, I think you have prematurely reached the conclusion that they have zero chance of passing. Many of the provisions and ideas that he put forward are ones that have been embraced by the Republican Party. Chairman Camp, for example, in his package approved a fee on banks. We've had examples, many other examples of where specific provisions have been passed by the House. The provision that would strengthen and expand the tax credit for children passed the House. The credit for secondary income earners, that's something else that was supported by Republicans. So as you go through the list, many of the proposals of the president put forth are ones that have been embraced. And so let's not just say that they're dead on arrival because they came out of the president's mouth. Let's engage. And, you know, he's the president of the United States. He has an opportunity and a forum to put forth what he thinks is going to move our country forward, grow the middle class, build ladders of opportunity, provide that equal opportunity for everyone. And he said at the end of the speech he looks forward to working with the Republicans in the House and the Senate. Let's hear their ideas if they're different.
Sure, and I think everyone holds out some optimism that that can happen, that there will be an effort to reach across the aisle. Ms. Jarrett, thanks for being here. I want to ask you this. For the first time since 9/11, the words al-Qaeda were not used in a State of the Union address. Why is it, in fact, because I think the American people deserve accurate terminology here, why won't the president say Islamic extremism or radical Islam? Why?
Well, first of all, there's nothing more important to the president than the safety and the security of the American people. That's his focus. That's his first priority. That's what he is dedicated to doing. And many of the countries who are helping us fight terrorism are Islamic majority countries. And let's look right here at home, whether it's a Sikh temple in Wisconsin or the Holocaust Museum right here in Washington, D.C. Those were terrorists, those were extremists, but they weren't of any particular faith. And so before we start throwing around labels, let's look more broadly at terrorism. Let's not limit it. Let's look broadly at it, and let's attack it together. And that's what the president is absolutely committed to doing.
Mr. There are other nations' leaders that have come out with specifics in terms of saying radical Islam. Does the president find it more offensive that radical Islam exists, or the term radical Islam? Which is more offensive to the president?
You know what? I think his philosophy is let's keep America safe. And let's focus on that. Let's put the American people's safety first. Let's use both our diplomatic and our military power. We're the strongest military power in the world, but he also believes in diplomacy. And let's focus on that. And let's keep our perspective, and let's look wherever we can across the world, working with our allies and partners on seeing what we can do to end terrorism of all forms.
I understand the president is hell-bent on closing Gitmo, and even President Bush said, hey, we should close that place. But I don't think the American people really want these terrorists running wild. They are not under lock and key in Uruguay. They are not under lock and key in Oman. They are able to do whatever they want in Afghanistan, and the prisoners swapped for Bo Bergdahl are also free. What did they do to deserve freedom?
Look, the president believes, as you said, and the American people believe, that Gitmo, its presence, its mere presence, and we've heard this, as you said, from President Bush and from national security experts from around the world, is a recruiting tool for terrorists. So let's close it, but let's do it in a responsible way.
But do you think it's responsible, Ms. Jarrett?
That's what the president is committed to doing.
I appreciate you saying that, and I understand that that was one of his campaign promises. But do you think it's responsible to take known al-Qaeda members who have been locked up for a good reason, no one said they were locked up unjustly, and give them their freedom in these countries, and we're not even watching them?
Well, as I said, with every single release, we negotiate and we look at the conditions, and I defer to the details of how those transactions are closed to the Justice Department. But again, keep in mind, we are doing everything possible to keep America safe. And that's his focus, and that's his priority, and that's what he's going to do for the remaining 2 years of his term in office.
So do you support them, Ms. Jarrett, the fact that al-Mari, former al-Qaeda operative, released from the United States to Qatar? You believe that that keeps us more safe? And the president believes that that keeps us more safe?
Well, people who've served their sentence are then released. And again, I will defer to the Justice Department on the details of every single case that you're bringing up. But the overall picture is to do everything within our power, the strongest force in the world, to keep America safe and to keep focused on that. And that's his priority.
Let me go back to one of the themes last night where the president, and we've heard him for years, talk about fairness. Last night he was talking about everybody should get a fair shot, which is okay, but then he talks about everybody should pay their fair share. When it comes to the top rate, and the president did make some suggestions that he would love to see Congress enact some tax increases, what would a fair tax rate be for some of the most successful Americans, people who are in that 1% that you're taking a shot at? Right now, it's at about 40% federal. What would be a fair rate for those people to pay?
Well, what the president has proposed is to increase the capital gains rate to 28%. A rate that has existed under prior Republican administrations. And so that, he believes, is a fair rate. And the idea is this. The idea is to try to give the middle class a break. And so how are we going to pay for that? The woman that was in the box last night, Rebecca from Minnesota, a terrific story about a woman who wanted to work, went back to city colleges to get additional training, but had a hard time affording child care. Well, again, a Republican proposal is to expand the child care credit. How do you pay for that? And so the president's belief is those at the top, if they pay a little bit more, it's going to help us expand opportunity for the middle class. And we want Rebecca to be able to work. We want her to be self-sufficient. More and more women are entering the workforce. And as we change those demographics, we need to be looking at what does it take to support a 21st century worker in this 21st century workplace, and employers who understand the importance of raising the minimum wage, paycheck fairness, making sure that women are paid the same as men, workplace flexibility, paid sick leave. 43 million Americans don't get a single day of sick time. When employers recognize the importance of that and they invest in their employees, they are more productive and the companies are more profitable. And so that's what the president is really trying to drive.
Ms. Jarrett, though, when you talk about, you talk about fairness and you talk about the administration very concerned about the middle class, and yet on President Obama's watch, the gap between the rich and the poor has grown way more than you want, and yet it speaks to the fact that maybe the president's policies simply have not worked.
Right, particularly.
And you're doubling down on it.
Contrary. Look at this. Oh, wait, come on. In the last 6 years, we have had now 58 straight months of private sector job growth, 11.2 million jobs. Our economy is strong. You talk to any company around this country, and they will say that things are getting better, but what hasn't happened is wages have not kept up.
That's right.
And that's why the president is looking for programs that will help encourage the private sector.
Black unemployment is
increase
twice
wages.
what white unemployment is right now under this administration. Is that fair?
Well, black unemployment was high long before this administration came in, and what the president has been doing is taking very important steps to try to grow the economy. And what he said last night is, yes, the economy is now strong, but what he wants to make sure is that the aggregate economy is also benefiting individual families. And that's why so many of the programs that he's outlined, both last night and over the course of his time, that Republicans have not put into place would have helped close that income gap.
And also, history was made last night. That's the first time I saw a president sign somebody's tie. So there was a story
about that.
That was
well,
great.
There you go. There you go.
It.
But I think it was a hopeful night, and I really hope that the Republicans do work with the administration and remember, who elected them and who we're here to serve.
And, we also remember that you joined us and you're very busy. Valerie Jarrett, thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Okay.